Good evening and welcome to the Jungle Gyms podcast. Today is Friday the 24th of September. I'm your host Gavin, and tonight we're joined by the usual suspects and Paddy and McGinty. How you guys doing?
Very good, my friend. Yourself?
Not bad, not bad. I see a guitar in the background there. What were you playing?
Just myself.
You were playing yourself.
I'm trying to be straight there.
Just pluck my own strings.
No, I was going to make a banjo comment there, but no. Jesus God. McGinty, is that Benfica? I get nervous whenever I see that crest. I always think it might be Lazio. Is that Benfica though?
It's Benfica. Trust me, I will not have a Lazio shirt. There's maybe 3 or 4 shirts in this world that I will not be purchasing.
Does that include Holland as well, yeah?
There's 3 or 4 shirts that I will not be purchasing. One would also be a Rangers top, an England top, a Linfield top, and a Lazio top is generally off the agenda. But this one, yes, it is Benfica's away shirt from last year. A little homage to our man of the match last night.
It's good to know that you've got Hart tops on there.
Okay, 4 or 5 tops.
Yeah, well, apart from those teams, you are a bit of a football top slut. We have seen your selection in the past, but I like it. I like it, mate.
It's quite simple, quite plain, but still quite nice.
Well, listen, the good thing is we've got that link. We've got Jota.
Exactly, so that's what I thought.
That's a Benfica link.
If I can keep a link to every shot that I bring on, I'd be quite impressed. We also had the Japan one earlier on in the episodes, and we've had now the Benfica one to follow in.
Representing. Right, okay, so for the viewers, thank you for joining us. Please hit the subscribe button and the like button, and leave a comment on the topics we're going to be discussing tonight. So the main part will be the post-match review of Celtic against Raith Rovers. So we played them last night, Thursday the 23rd of September at Parkhead. That was a quarter to 8 kick-off, and we won 3-0. After that, we're going to be talking about Callum McGregor. He signed a 5-year deal, and just a kind of general brief roundup of Celtic's news. The Premier Sports, it was the quarter final against Raith Rovers, and I can't ever mention or talk about that team without harkening back to 1994. For me, that was my biggest ever heartbreak as a child.
I knew that was coming.
Actually, it would have been great to do a teaser and ask if you could name the 11 from that day, but when I was in the car on the way to the game, Super Scoreboard did that teaser, and we're certainly not going to be accused of ripping off Super Scoreboard. So we'll move on from that. I won't mention that teaser, but for any of the viewers who are not old enough to remember that game, it was 1994 at Ibrox, the cup final, Celtic against Raith Rovers. And we had like some legends back then, like Paul McStay playing for Celtic, and it didn't work out well for Celtic. I can't actually remember the score. Was it 1 each or 2 each? But it went to penalties, and Raith Rovers. I was at Gordon Dale. He scored one of the goals, but Raith Rovers won that. Tragic game, and even worse for it to happen at Ibrox as well. I remember.
Yeah, did Paul McStay miss one of the penalties?
He did.
Oh fuck.
But I think Andy Walker might have scored the goal for Celtic in normal play.
Guys, can we just please make it like a pact that we never ever mention his name again on here?
Andy Walker, yeah. Okay, yes, sorry mate, I just did it there.
Can we agree to not mention Charlie Nicholas' name either after this point?
Aye, there's a few people on the list, as you can see. Right, guys, let's move on and actually get into the game. So I think there's been like 15 games between Raith Rovers and Celtic since that fateful game in 1984, and Raith Rovers have not won against Celtic. So yeah, as we said, 3-0. So let's get into it. The lineup to start off with, we had Joe Hart in goals, we had Monty at left back. Again, the revolving carousel that we have at left back right now. Starfelt, Cameron Carter-Vickers and Ralston, and at right back, Josip Juranovic on the bench. In midfield, we've got Turnbull, McCarthy and Rogic, and up front, we've got Jota, Ajeti and Abada. McGinty, any surprises with the lineup? Happy with that?
Yeah, somewhat happy. The left back wonderment of surprise is forever changing. It was nice to see the young lad skills get on later on in the game, but overall I think it was kind of what we expected over the last few weeks, knowing that obviously still Callum McGregor, Kyle going, the likes of Forrest and stuff are still out. So yeah, about what you expected.
Exactly. Aye, as McGinty just said there, we've got a few injuries and it actually increased later on, but we'll go into that in further detail. Paddy, overall thoughts on the game? Happy with that professional performance?
You mentioned the keyword there, mate. Professional. Wasn't the best game. We tried. We dominated in spells. It was much of the same again. It was just kind of plugging away. We looked kind of toothless up front. Obviously, no accounting in Jota and Abada, mostly Sloggetti, who I think had a pretty poor game. But aye, listen, it was decent. We managed to get a 3-0 victory. Managed to get through to the next round. So all round, it's a good night at the office, professional performance. So aye, no big negatives for me.
Mm-hmm. And McGinty, our opponents, Raith Rovers, of course, we have mentioned them. Their reputation is quite an attacking team. They were playing in red and white. I remember them kind of like a dark navy. But aye, strange top. I've never seen that one before. Were they fairly toothless? Did you think?
I don't feel. I feel they didn't trouble us as much as we probably made the game look lethargic. It was a professional enough performance in the sense of clean sheet, 3 goals through to the next round. What more can you really ask for? But we're no putting teams to the sword, in my opinion, just now. And equally, as teams that aren't really causing us too much trouble at the backline. So I don't know. Trying not to sound too disinterested in it. Paddy's right. It was a professional enough performance. We know the flaws are in the squad just now, but for everything that Raith Rovers can throw at us, I think our defence is actually doing reasonably okay. Again, knowing that they are not so much weak just now, but they're just not used to playing with each other. So I think they're still trying to bide the time and build into confidence within themselves at the backline. But the more you see them, the more they tend to be doing that. Again, another clean sheet, as he says.
Yeah, like again, same with Starfelt and Cameron Carter Vickers. They're the two ones who've been consistent in playing together now. But we keep changing the fullbacks. Again, like Josip back on the bench, Ralston on for right back, Monte playing at left back after Bolly had played in the previous game. Do you think we're doing a disservice because we're not playing with the same consistent back four?
A little bit. There's only so many players that we have, especially in the centre back position, which is a main worry for me just now because Starfelt just doesn't look like the player that we thought we were signing for £4.5 million. It would be nicer to see consistent throughout that four. Jovanovic on the right, or Ralston. I know there's a good argument there, but Jovanovic on the right, Welsh, Carter Vickers, and arguably Scales, I think would be everybody's preferred to see what he can bring. If we could keep that for 3 or 4 games, I think you would see some leaps and bounds coming on from development and them understanding each other, whereas just now we seem to be, as you say, chop and change 2 or 3 of them at one time, which isn't terrible because, again, we kept the clean sheet last night. So I feel bad the fact that I'm disappointed in the result not being more emphatic, but it's still a good result. It's still 3-0 against a championship side, and you can't take cup games lightly. We have done that before. Raith Rovers in the cup final in '94 for one, Clyde for another one. 10 odd years ago.
Inverness Galley
Thistle, the famous ballistic one.
Why are we doing this to ourselves?
I know it happened, so we really shouldn't be too negative. It's just I think it's just building over the last few weeks. I just want to see us get back to that early season form where we were putting 5 or 6 past teams, not just getting to 3 goals in, seeing it out.
Totally. It was a bit kind of huff and puff.
Well, the good thing is clearly coming off the back of a piss poor performance against Livingston and a defeat as well. You know what I mean? You've taken the Raith Rovers game, you've taken a victory, so it's kind of you're getting back to winning ways, albeit against a weaker side, but you're still putting the result out. You know what I mean?
Aye. Right, okay, let's get into the goals then. So it was a bit of a slow start. We had the majority of possession, of course, but it took a while, and we were looking to see where that first goal was going to come from. We were a wee bit cumbersome, a wee bit predictable in our approach. So we're going to talk about Jota for the first goal. I think McGinty had actually texted during the game to say that he looks at that kind of exciting continental style of play. And we definitely saw that against Betis. But to actually go into the goal, kind of continuing on with that form. So that was in the 26th minute. When I was watching it back, I was at the game, and when I watched it back on the TV, it actually looked just before the goal scored that Jota was just getting pissed off, and he just like took the bull by the bull by the horns and orchestrated it himself. So it was a short corner that he took with Turnbull, and he got it back from Turnbull. He played it out to Monty, and Monty then advanced it to McCarthy. McCarthy at that point can see Jota making a run through the middle into the box, and McCarthy at that point he takes a touch and he starts to fall back. He's overbalanced, but he still manages to play through a superb cute ball, and it goes past about 3, 4, possibly even 5 players in the Wraith defence, and Jota picks it up, and the keeper's rushing out to him, and Jota with a clinical finish, and he puts it by the keeper. A lovely goal, first goal for Celtic. Paddy, as I said, first goal for Jota, the first of many. What's your hunch?
Well, it would certainly hope so. You were talking about James McCarthy. His passing previous to that goal was much the same as it was against Livingston. It was pretty woeful, and I think a lot of people were actually surprised by how good that pass was to set up Jota.
Do you think that's why you fell over?
Possibly, or maybe the fact that he thought he was playing with George Michael. But no, listen, it was a fantastic pass for McCarthy. But as I said again, his passing previous to that was pretty piss poor, and even more so after the goal, it was kind of much the same. But he did well. He did well with the pass, and Jota's goal was really good, technically good. He was a player that was looking as if it was going to be exciting for the start off. Him and Abada, either wing. Two guys looked as if they were pressing on. They were going to go and attack the fullbacks, which is obviously what they were told by Postecoglou. So that's what you're looking to see for your wing play.
Aye. And moving on to the second goal, that was Abada in the 40th minute. The ball was played out from the defence. The Abada had collected the ball. It was Jota collected the ball fortuitously in the left wing. He cuts inside and he unleashed a shot, and the keeper parried it. It was a poor parry though, because it went straight to Abada, who was quicker than the defender closest to him, and Abada headed it in goal. Again, another boy who's going to his confidence will be key for his performance. Much like a Jota, I think these wide men need to feel as if they're involved in getting goals, especially for a 19-year-old Abada. That's exactly what he needs, the confidence to actually thrive this season. So a well-worked goal. Jota, again, heavily involved in that, and Abada getting off the mark. Happy with the game so far at that point, McGinty. I know that Paddy was talking about McCarthy. He was heavily involved. He looked like, in Callum McGregor's absence, it was almost like kind of a Scott Brown role. He was only kind of line in front of the defence. He was heavily involved, but a few slack passing as well.
Yeah, at that point you're 2-0 up. We're hoping that the floodgates are going to open, sort of thing. So things start looking better. I like how you say that there about McCarthy though. Kind of like he played the Scott Brown role rather than playing the Callum McGregor role, which I think we've all got used to in the last few years of not needing that in domestic football in Scotland. That support to the backline is just not needed, in my opinion. We need to get back to getting Callum McGregor in there, who's a lot quicker on the turn and a lot more forward thinking with his passes going forward. That said, the first goal, that pass was superb from James McCarthy.
See on that note, McGinty, see if you're going to be playing with a midfield three of, for talk's sake, McCarthy, Turnbull and Rogic. Now, you know Turnbull and Rogic are going to be more advanced. So if you've got that guy who's going to be your kind of anchor man, or the guy that sits in front of the defence like a McCarthy or a McGregor even, that's kind of good that you've got that kind of shield where, albeit if you've got Rogic and Turnbull marauding forward, you've got that guy there who's going to kind of marshal the kind of deeper side of the midfield. Do you know what I mean?
I get what you mean. It's just, for me, that throws back a bit too much to the Brown days where you end up with that defensive midfielder being too focused on defending the back line, and the front two midfielders are too busy attacking, that you actually end up with no real midfield. Whereas Callum McGregor does sit in that middle bit between the defensive midfield and the attacking midfield and actually can dictate play and get in amongst it. I think that's a lot better for us, especially when you're coming up against packed defences, because there's no point having 5 players behind the ball and another 5 players in front of the ball and in amongst the opponents, and nothing actually bridging between the two to try and break that line. Mm-hmm. I think Callum McGregor is a lot better, and we definitely saw that the last few years.
But then if you've got a midfield, right, plus your wingers, which would be Rogic, Turnbull, Abada, Jota, all on the attack. Say for talking, if one of your attacks doesn't come off, right, and the other team get a counter, so at least you've got one man sitting there. Now, McCarthy's not exactly like a sitting midfielder or a defender. He just seems to be the midfielder who's sitting back the most.
Aye. No, I totally get it. This is more harking on to the kind of day when we do get McGregor back, because I think once McGregor comes back, you're not going to see McCarthy in the squad, in the first team squad.
Absolutely.
And I think that will bring back a lot more of the intensity and dynamic attitude. I'll go with that word.
Who do you think we're missing? Who do you think we're missing most, McGregor or Furuhashi?
Equally both, but probably more McGregor just now. McGregor's able to turn the slow build up at the back into an attack, and he's able to win the ball back and turn it a lot quicker. We miss the movement of Kyle up front, but I think with Abada and Jota, you still have a lot of direct play, and getting the ball to them faster is probably key to getting them being able to get into positions as well, and obviously the support from the other two in the midfield.
Mate, McGregor's literally the Swiss Army knife of this team.
He really is, yeah.
He can sit in front of the defence and he can be the metronome of your attack. He can dictate play for your, harking back to your Americanisms, for like Gav, your quarterback position. He can be the guy that drifts out left. He can be the guy that bombs forward. Your kind of box-to-box midfielder. He can be the link-up between midfield and attack. Do you know what I mean? We don't have any players that is like McGregor.
That's exactly what I mean, yeah. Exactly that. He links that into the attack. He's that. If you're going to have 3 midfielders, you have an attacking one, a defensive one, and you have Callum McGregor somewhere in there. But I just don't feel we need a defensive midfielder at all in Scottish football, unless you're going to be talking about a cup final against, Aberdeen. Hibs traditionally going to give you a good game, or obviously playing against Rangers at some point. Then yeah, you can change up. But against Raith Rovers, against Livingston, we don't really need that. We need to just be battering the fuck out of these teams and just trying to create as many chances as you possibly can. McCarthy, for me, doesn't create those chances.
Agreed.
Often.
Unless he puts a through ball to Jota.
Which, again, was a superb through ball. It really was a superb through ball. I mean, caveat everything that I'm saying negative with that.
Yeah. I personally, we've had times where we've had 2 holding midfielders. So I think one is sufficient for me. Again, it depends on who you're playing. But domestically, I'm happy with one. I know that McGregor's much more of an offensive type player, although he is kind of playing that number 6. We have seen to have witnessed this season. I want to see more of. I want to see better performances of McCarthy. He knows the role inside out. He's been doing it in England long enough against high caliber opposition. He just needs to get a run of games where he's match fit and he can tidy up his passing, and then we can maybe judge him fully. I think it's too easy to judge people after just a handful of games, but everybody's in the same boat right now. We've got so many people who's just started their Celtic career. But McCarthy, of course, being a more experienced head, we would like to see more composure from him, especially against a team of Raith Rovers ilk. So moving on to the third goal and the second half. Still quite early on, actually, but it was a Jetty who passed the ball to Turnbull, and Turnbull, I think it was just outside the box, and he kind of, you were kind of urging him to shoot at that point, and he kind of caressed it with his right foot, and it just went round the keeper. Not that much pace, but it was just very, very well placed. I like the technique from Turnbull. We know that he's capable of that. We want to see him more of it. Paddy, do you think the Turnbull's at what capacity, percentage of his capabilities is he actually playing right now? We think he's capable of more.
Definitely. I kind of say that in recent weeks, I think Turnbull, he either looks fatigued or he just looks kind of out of sorts. You saw the goal, right? And you looked at Turnbull's reaction, and you were kind of torn between whether he meant it or whether it was a bit of luck. You saw him and he turned around and looked at his teammates, and it was as if like, oh God, what happened there? You know what I mean? But listen, it was a good goal, but his overall performance, I thought, was as kind of has been in recent weeks. It was kind of lacking. Now Turnbull's playing pretty advanced in the midfield three, and he's the one that kind of looks to be looking as if he's running out wider more than anybody. And he's not particularly fast. Do you know what I mean? And he's coming up against defenders, and there's no much guile there. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, he is performing here and there, and there's wee snippets. But if you were to ask me a percentage of Turnbull's performance, what we're getting out of him now, I would say maybe about 45%.
Oof. Big Anthony, is that harsh? 45%?
For what he can, for what he can do is what I'm kind of judging it.
It sounds harsh, but yeah, when you think what he could do, especially when he broke in last year, and what you hope he can be, I hope there's twice the player that he is just now, which, 45-50%. I hope that's there. I think it'll come better. You have to remember this guy's still, 21 years old? Has he even made it 22 yet? He's still extremely young. It's only his third season in professional football. He had that 1 year out, remember? And he's got a lot of game time coming up for him to improve as a player. Let's just hope that we, behind the scenes now, that we've got the head of sports science in, we start making more inroads into these backroom staff, the key coaching teams, people who can help encourage players like Turnbull onto a good game, who can help encourage and develop Jota, Abada, whoever else. But also the sports science, the fitness, the reconditioning stuff, all that wonderful stuff that we talk about. Hopefully that's all coming into the club now, because guys like Turnbull look like sometimes he's burning out, or he's just a bit lethargic during the games, and he almost feels like a luxury player. You know what he can do. That place shot for one. His free kicks, his set pieces are superb at times, but sometimes it's just not always there. Hopefully these guys, the backroom staff, can start to encourage us to come out a bit more.
Aye. Paddy, by the end of the season, you would imagine that Turnbull will be the highest goal scorer from midfield if we take away the strikers. So would you be expecting a 10 to 15 by the end of the season for league goals?
I don't know if I would expect that, but I'd clearly love it. See when you're playing with like a kind of 4-3-3 system, you need one of your midfielders to be your box-to-box midfielder who's going to be the link-up between midfield and striker. Kind of in the Stan Petrov ilk. You would think that with Turnbull being the youngest one, if you're going to judge it on a midfield, they say Callum McGregor, Tom Rogic and David Turnbull, that Turnbull's going to be the one that always gets further forward. Sorry guys, I've had a few beers tonight, a bit tongue-tied.
Was it no Bud Light that saw you drinking, mate?
I know, but it was a half a bottle of vodka. No, but you would expect Turnbull to be the one that's always going to get further the most. And Rogic is going to be the guys that's kind of drifting here and there. But the good thing about Turnbull is that he's got that advantage where he can he can either create goals or score goals for set pieces. So you would expect him maybe to be in at least double figures. Now, I'm not writing the guy off in any shape or form, but he's looked a bit less of the player that he has for last season. So maybe that's a second season syndrome, or maybe it's just he's got to work up to his full potential for this season. You know what I mean? I don't really know, but hopefully once everybody's fully fit and you've got guys like Forrest coming in, Calmac dictating play, your captain's going to be back in there. It's going to be a big lift to everybody.
Aye. Let's just kind of emphasise to the viewers that we're not piling on here to hate Turnbull. Just kind of he scored the third goal, and we are kind of recognising the guy's potential, the guy's quality, and that is a fair question. Can he do more? Because we need so much of him this season. If we're going to win the league, then he needs to be firing in all cylinders. But again, so many other players need to do that as well. So we're not trying to make him the exception. But just to kind of finish off the game, so I think it was the 59th minute. Raith Rovers, they had a man sent off. That was his second bookable offence. Dario Zamata, I think he's actually their top goal scorer this season, but he barely got a sniff anyway. So yeah, 59th minute, they go down to 10 men, so that's another half an hour that we've got them for, but I don't think we really capitalised, and nor did we need to. And saying that, though, it kind of flies in the face of that philosophy where we keep going until 90 minutes. Maybe we kind of took our foot off the gas because we never scored in the final half hour. But that kind of brings us on to the next point. Liam Scales came on. He got a standing ovation. Well, certainly I was standing anyway. I don't know about everybody else. So he came on, left back, but it looked as if he was kind of playing far more advanced. I think at that point, Monty went up to left wing, and Jota actually went centre forward, and Ajeti came off. So changed the personnel, changed the players in their positions as well. I was really impressed with Scales. But before we kind of really talk too much, I know that it was probably less than half an hour that he was on for. But Paddy, would you agree that there's a certain intrigue whenever an Irish player dons the hoops for Celtic?
Oh, yeah, of course there is. You're always expecting any kind of Irish player to be like an icon at Celtic, regardless of what kind of level they're at. But everybody's been excited to see Scales, and obviously last night he made his debut. I think people have been wanting to see him make his debut for the last couple of weeks. But when he came on, he looked confident enough, and as I say that, he looked kind of slightly, maybe not nervous, but maybe just a wee bit kind of ring rusty. But you could see from when he came on, his passing was crisp. He's a big, strong, athletic boy. He's got good height.
Very tall.
He is. I thought he looked good for what he produced for when he came on. But he's a player that I'm looking forward to seeing. Do you know what I mean? Especially because when you look at our fullback areas, we've got guys who, like your Greg Taylors, your Bolingollies. I'll no say Montgomery, right, because he's played mostly further forward this season. But you've got guys who they get the ball and they go further forward, and they'll maybe just check in all the time, and they'll try and kind of pass inside and expect your midfielders to do something with the ball. Yeah. Whereas when Scales came on last night, as you said, he was further forward, he was advanced, he was coming inside, he was going down the wing. You know what I mean? A couple of slack passes, but that's to be expected, for God's sake, for making your debut. You know what I mean? You've got to remember this guy's came to the League of Ireland.
I think I counted him losing possession twice. One time with a pass, another time when he ran into trouble and he was crowded out by about 4 players. Me personally, he looked. I thought he came across as quite confident looking. He was shouting for the ball, making himself available, not hiding whatsoever. It looked as if, for me, McGinty, he really enjoyed the occasion and the short time that he was on the pitch for. Are you expecting big things from the boy?
I'm not expecting big, massive things because I won't heap that kind of level of expectation on, considering where he's came from, and I don't mean that in any slight. I'm intrigued as you guys have said, anybody comes from Ireland, Irish surnames or rest it or whatever, you kind of have that intrigue. Paddy says you want him to be an icon, even if it's a cult hero like Paddy McCourt sort of thing. You want them to do well, because you can only assume to a safe degree that there's going to be a good affiliation with them in Celtic anyhow. I think he looked good though. As you say, he showed for the ball quite a lot. He looked to get involved. He wanted the ball. He wanted to get forward at times. But I was kind of also impressed that a lot of times he held his line quite well, I think, on that left side. And for me, he looks like a kind of player who could quite easily play in a back three on that left side, which I think probably complements the fact that he plays both left back and centre back. He certainly looks like he would feel very comfortable in a back three.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm being this is a poor comparison, but with his height, he almost looks like a Martin O'Neill type player from back in those Celtic days.
Yeah.
Paddy, kind of continuing on with the Irish team, who would you say is your favourite Celtic player to ever have played for the Irish national team? And whether that be Ireland or Northern Ireland? For me, I was thinking about it. Obviously, we've had like Roy Keane and Robbie Keane. Sadly, they didn't play many games for Celtic, but for me, it'd probably have to be Packy Bono.
I'm kind of torn between Robbie and Roy, because they were two players that
Sounds like a boy band there.
Boyzone. They were obviously two players that you always wished that had played for Celtic. The two differences was Roy Keane came to Celtic when he was clearly past it, even though he did boss a few games in the short time that he was here. And then Robbie Keane, he was that kind of figure that was always mentioned at the transfer window. The rumours, Robbie Keane's going to join for Celtic, and you're like, God's sake, I've been hearing this for the last fucking 10 years. Do you know what I mean? And you ended up, you signed him, and I think everybody was away doing fucking seeing it. Like last thing at night, Robbie Keane's there, and you're like, oh my God. But again, Robbie Keane, when he came in, he was playing in I don't mean to say this too harshly, but like a less intelligent team. You're Tony Mowbray.
Oh, absolutely. Aye.
You looked at him, and every time that he made a run, the guys would they pass it through to him because they weren't thinking that quick.
Well, the other player who actually did assist him would be Aidan McGeady, and another player who could be one of your favourites who played for Ireland.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we've got James McCarthy now.
Is that brushing over McGeady there? You know, one player who I wish played for Celtic, Dennis Irwin. What a player he was.
What a player. Yeah, very, very, very underrated in football.
Free kicks,
Absolutely.
penalties, his overall gameplay. What a player.
He was like an Irish Maravchik. You didn't know what kind of foot his strongest foot was. He played right back, he played left back, he took corners with his left, took him with his right, took free kicks left, right. You know what I mean? He was that good that he played with both feet, and you were like, my God, is this guy left footed or right footed natural? But absolute superb player.
Some player, aye. Well, just to kind of wrap up the game anyway. So, the possession, that would not really surprise anyone. Celtic had 72 to their 28%. Shots, 19 to their 5. And shots on target, we had 8 to their 1. Corners, we had 5 to their 0. And again, I want to see us make corners count this season. Last season should be a lesson. We know that set pieces are a major part of the game. It's naive to think that we can do it without that. We need to capitalise on every opportunity.
We're going to hope that when Julian's fit and ready to come back into the first team, that he's going to be an outlet for that. And you're also hoping as well that the kind of Greek bull who's at the club just now, Giacomakis, who everybody was really, really kind of downflated not to see him make his debut last night.
He wasn't much of a bull last night, was he?
No, he was not, mate. He's pulled up a calf injury in the warm up, I believe. That's another talking point on it as well before we wrap it up on the review. That's another player that was signed who Postecoglou's came out and said he's no match fit, and then he's readily available last night, albeit to come off the bench, and he's pulled up with an injury. So I mean, is this going to be something that our sports science fella Antoine McAlone's going to be able to kind of sort out, or is this just bad luck or
Mm-hmm.
God knows what.
Aye, well, it's a good point, mate. Thanks for bringing it up. McGinty, obviously Giakoumakis definitely not. We were hoping for a debut. It didn't happen. It happens, sometimes players get injured in a warm-up. You don't need a full-blooded tackle to justify your exclusion from the next game. And of course, Mikey Johnson as well. He picked up a wee knock on Wednesday, according to Postecoglou, and he says that he doesn't know when he'll be back. Do you think it's just bad luck or a coincidence, or do you think that there might be something to it for Ange's training, the high intensity, be fitter than everybody else in the land, which of course you want to, but do you think that that is taking its toll on the increasing numbers of injuries?
It possibly could have, but I wouldn't lay that blame at Ange Postecoglou right now. He comes in with an expectation of a certain level of fitness that was clearly not there. He made comments over the summer that the fitness levels were just shocking. We've heard that before after a Neil Lennon stint when a more established and more savvy managers came in after him. I think it's a condition of how poor things are at the club that we're not specialising in these areas before it gets too late, that we've seen so many people pull out. We saw over the Ronnie Dial into the Brendan Rodgers era that we actually sorted James Forrest's kind of fitness and injury issues out. We figured we've got a sports science in at the time, we had all the good backroom staff, and we figured, right, put you on a specialised programme, get you over your recurrent injuries and get you back playing, and he was a superb player for it. We probably need to do the same with a few players currently at the squad, and it would seem maybe Giakoumakis might be one of those, because where's he been up until this point? I get that it's a calf injury, it pulls up in training, in the warm-up. That's fine, that's hard luck really, but it shouldn't have happened. He should be fitter than that to get a bloody injury during the warm-up, which is actually designed to prevent you getting an injury in the game. So
yeah.
The question is to be asked, where's his fitness been at for the last 3 weeks since he's been here, and what's he been doing all summer?
You did raise that point in the last podcast. You said, why has he not been playing for the previous team, VVV Venlo? Why was he not being playing for them up until the moment he signed for Celtic? And maybe if he had been playing for them, he wouldn't be injured right now. Maybe he would have already made his debut much earlier. Paddy, I was actually walking away whenever full time went, but I believe that Joe Hart galvanised up, not that's the wrong word, but he ragdolled a few of the players back onto the pitch when they were going up the tunnel.
Aye, you didn't see that on TV, but the squad was walking off at full time. They were going up the tunnel, and the next minute Joe Hart's basically run up, kind of verbally dragged everybody back out to go and applaud the Celtic support, which it's pretty telling for Joe Hart's kind of leadership at the club just now. And that's exactly what you want to see. Do you know what I mean? Joe Hart's come in, he's been a big Premier League player, England international, and he's that good that he's taken the captain's armband in the absence of Callum McGregor. Do you know what I mean? That's exactly what you want to see for your captain, as a guy who's going to show some passion and show some kind of
Authority.
Leadership.
Not so much an authority, but you've got a guy there who's going to say, look, the fans here have turned out for you tonight. Get back out there and show them some appreciation.
Showing a bit of responsibility as well.
Of course,
it is, respect.
Mate. Well, there you are. The full pitch was going to walk up. The full squad was going to walk up the tunnel until Joe Hart's ran over and says, "Right, you guys, back out there and go and give them a clap."
I think I said that at the start of his tenure here, after a few games. I think this guy's got it. I think he's got Celtic in him now. I think he understands it.
I've been impressed. I'm going to hold my hands up and say that I was not keen on the appointment whenever we heard the rumours, but he surprised me, and I'm happy with it. And I think we need him more than he needs us. In fact, it's probably a mutual benefit for both. He needs us and we need him, but I don't mean that in a bad way. But I'm glad what he's bringing to the table from what you've highlighted, Paddy. Definitely need that.
Well, when Joe Hart came here, his reputation was kind of in tatters. Maybe not to that degree, but his reputation was pretty far down the line.
Descending, yeah.
Descending, aye. when you see, sometimes you get players coming to Celtic who need a kind of rejolt in their careers and their lives. You know what I mean? And they come up here and they reinvigorate themselves. But it looks to me as if Joe Hart has totally reinvigorated himself. He's brought some passion back to the game. He's brought some passion back to himself. You know what I mean? And
I
that
think he
it show,
enjoys he enjoys the
exactly.
responsibility that he's got.
I bet it looks as if he's enjoying his football as well. It's showing his characteristics. You see him, he's leading the back line. He's got the captain's armband. Callum McGregor's obviously no there, who's the designated Celtic captain now. You know what I mean? Joe Hart, Mr. Experience, he's taken over that mantle, which is fantastic for us as a team.
What were you going to say?
It reminds me a little bit of when Scott Sinclair came to Celtic after his first year. He had that interview, which I'm sure you remember a lot bits of it. And to paraphrase him quite badly, he basically came out and says, look, I made all my money at Man City. He had his big contract. He moved on to other clubs, obviously like Seville and stuff, and he says that he wasn't enjoying his football. And as an attacking winger, come striker, you want to be on the front foot, but playing for Villa back in those days, he was always on the back foot, and he admitted he was practically falling out of love with the game until he came to Celtic and realised, hold up a minute, you can play football this way, you can play exciting football, you can be attacking, you can express yourself. And he fell back in love with Celtic and with the game, obviously. I think maybe it's similar with Joe Hart. He's been through a couple of clubs since Man City days, trying to find his place in the world almost. And I think maybe he's found in his older days and his experience, he's found a place in a club where he's appreciated by the fans, he's a leader in the dressing room clearly, and he knows what he's doing. He can actually just get on with it, enjoying his football now.
Mm-hmm. Aye. And Postecoglou does need leaders in that dressing room. And we're going to see more of it, which is great. And that kind of brings us on to the next point. So he was the stand-in captain for Callum McGregor. And we heard the news today, a few hours ago, that he's been handed a 5-year deal. Paddy, tell me more.
Fantastic news. You see, like your Rodson Edwards, your Ryan Christie's, your Christopher Ayer leaving the club in recent times. So for us to secure Callum McGregor to a 5-year deal is a tremendous piece of news for the club. The guy's been here since he's been, God, I think before double figures.
I think he says 8 or 9 years old since he first signed in the boys.
8 or 9 years old, you know what I mean? He's come up, he's made his professional debut with Celtic. And he's went from level to level with Celtic. Do you know what I mean? And it's wonderful news for everybody involved at Celtic.
Mm-hmm. What do you think makes a difference between a captain, a Celtic captain, and a memorable Celtic captain? Do you think it's just the trophies at the end of the day, or do you think there's something more to it than that? And do you think he's got what it takes to be remembered?
Well, I would assume that everybody will remember Callum McGregor as a Celtic player. How he performs as captain will be judged on mostly trophies, but how he leads the club as a player. You know what I mean? He said it himself. He says he's worked under Scott Brown. He's played with Scott Brown. He's learned everything that he can from Scott Brown, who was a phenomenal captain for Celtic. Do you know what I mean? So how Callum galvanises the team in this kind of transitional period is going to be a key factor. Mm-hmm. And if he can turn in performances like the Callum McGregor at his best can do, as well as lead the club, then we're secure. We're going to reap the benefits here.
Certainly hope so. McGinty, again, do you think he's got the potential to be a memorable Celtic captain?
Yes, 5-year contract, Celtic captain just now. I think he's got time in himself as a footballer and time at the club to make a proper stamp of his legacy here now. He's got to go down in legacy for being hopefully a one-club man, but I think he's got time even in this transitional period. If he hits the ground running properly now, it turns the season around and wins this league, he'll go down in good memory and good faith. But even if we exclude what may or may not happen this season, he's still got another 4 years to really lay a marker. And I think, as Paddy says, Callum McGregor that we know as a footballer, he'll be able to do that. I think he's learnt a lot from Brown, but he's not the same. I think he's his own man, and I think we've got a different kind of captain, which is not something that we need, but it's something that will do as well. We don't always need to be the exact same as the last one. He needs to bring his own style, and I think he will bring that. I think we'll get a lot of support as well from, as we said a minute ago, guys like Joe Hart as well.
But that brings
Absolutely.
that brings us back to Joe Hart. So Callum McGregor doesn't need to be the captain that's kind of shouting and bawling in the middle of the park. Do you know what I mean? He can be
Exactly.
the guy that rouses your players up and gives them that pat on the shoulder, gives them that word of encouragement. Whereas Joe Hart's at the back, he's pretty vocal, as we've all seen, as we all know.
He's
You
the
know what I
scary
mean?
guy.
Well, got a scarily long neck. That's about it. but there can be a balance in the squad. Do you know what I mean? It's not just into one man like it was kind of last season, with your Scott Brown being the Mr. Influential captain. Callum McGregor can be the captain. He can be the one that's got the voice at the huddle. He can be the one that's dictating playing midfield, kind of no barking out orders, but he can be the one that's kind of savvy, telling the guys where to go, where to be. Joe Hart can be at the back, marshalling the defence. You know what I mean? You can't have enough leaders at the one club.
Aye.
You know what I mean? And that's something that we saw kind of, especially last season, when Bruni at the end of his tenure, if you want to call it that, was the only leader. You know what I mean? You would possibly think that Callum McGregor should have been kind of stepping up to the mark last season, but last season was a kind of it's one of the ones that you just want to dingy. You know what I mean? But if he can take experience for that last season where it was a failure, and then return it into this season and take the experience for that and move us forward, then everybody's going to be happy.
Aye. To use a Star Wars analogy on a football podcast, I know that that's a crime, but maybe he was Scott Brown's kind of Padawan last season in terms of the captaincy material, but this season he's his own man, as McGinty said, and he needs to shine. But that didn't go down too well, did it?
No. You should have been saying he's going to be his own Jedi or something. Yeah,
I'm just like, what the fuck's a Padawan?
Never seen a Star Wars
a young
movie.
student of the Jedi religion, shall we say?
All right, okay.
Good.
Swiftly moving on.
Aye, please.
Shouldn't be doing that again. So we have obviously beat Raith Rovers, so we're through to the semi-finals, and we have drawn St Johnstone in the semis. The upcoming fixtures that we're looking at is Motherwell at Parkhead on Sunday, this Sunday at 3 o'clock. So looking forward to that. And the following game is Europa League action. We're playing at home again. Thursday night against Bayer Leverkusen. McGinty, are you hoping to get much out of these coming games?
Definitely the win at the weekend. We need it. We can't really afford any more slip-ups. We've been given some good graces that other teams around us have slipped up. So this weekend in the league, we definitely need this win. Bayer Leverkusen midweek next week, but it's going to be tough. I'm not expecting anything, bar a good performance. Don't get embarrassed. And
whenever we do the post-match for Leverkusen, are you going to be wearing any German tops that night? I'm sure you've got a few.
I actually only have one German top. No, I have two. I have two. I have the away international one from the past Euros there, the all black one, which would be quite similar to this. And I actually have a Nuremberg shirt from last season as well. Maybe I'll wear
St. Pauli?
No St. Pauli yet.
McGinty, I have to ask, do you actually own any Celtic tops?
I have. I wore one on the opening pilot episode. Maybe I'll wear that next week just to cheer you up.
McGinty, you keep flying the international flag for our podcast. I like that. That's what you bring to it.
Absolutely.
And Paddy, you behave yourself, mate. So wrapping up tonight, guys. So overall, a professional, if not at times, laboured victory over Raith Rovers. And onwards and upwards, we've got Motherwell, and then we've got Leverkusen. Leverkusen, definitely the harder game of the two. But guys, any final thoughts, Paddy, before we finish up tonight?
Again, coming off the back of the Livingston defeat, we've got a victory over Raith Rovers, so we just really need to continue trying to get back to winning ways, especially in the league. And we just really need to hope that we can get a fully fit squad as soon as possible. You know, you're wanting to get your guys like kind of Kyogo, Forrest, Julian, everybody back, and then we can start playing with some kind of cohesion. And really start just putting the points on the board.
Exactly. Aye, McGinty. A few injuries is racking up. Let's hope it doesn't escalate any further. But guys, from myself, from Paddy, from McGinty, the Jungle Gyms, thank you very, very much for watching. And as I said at the start, please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, and please share it with your fellow Celtic fans. And in the comments, let us what you think of, or tell us what you think of the game. Joe Hart, his leadership qualities, Callum McGregor, the new 5-year deal, and the injury crisis. So thanks again, guys.
All the best.
Thank you.
Hail, hail.